Welcome to this inspiring Wetskills practices for climate adaptation. Well, this is an intergenerational contribution to the Water Action Hub of the Climate Adaptation Summit 2021. Our contribution will consist of some inspiring ideas that came out of previous Wetskills events, and with the focus on climate adaptation. Well, my name is Johan Oost. I'm Managing Director of the Wetskills Foundation. I'm representing Wetskills Foundation, which consists of about 35 young professionals, less young professionals, or established young professionals. And we all together, we execute events worldwide, activities worldwide to bring in young talents in the sector. And they come up with out-of-the-box ideas. Well, we started in 2010 in Shanghai during the World Expo, and since then we elaborated 45 events in 23 different countries all over the world. Had more than 850 alumni participants, co-created in mixed teams, more than 200 study cases. And those study cases are brought in by sector partners. It could be industries, it could be governments, water authorities, NGOs, knowledge institutes, and they are all real-life cases. So the case owner, they bring in expertise, and they also want to have a great out-of-the-box idea to potentially follow up and use it. Well, we bring in young talents at the one hand, expertise from the academia worldwide, and the cases from the sector itself. And we shake them in a kind of cocktail, and in 2 weeks those ideas come up. And the participants, they are mixed in mixed teams with diverse background, diverse nationalities, diverse experiences. And in this diversity, the team need to come up with an out-of-the-box solution and present it during a high-level water stage. Could be a conference, could also be an exhibition or an expert panel. Well, Wetskills exists 10 years, 27th of May 2020, so exactly 10 years after the first Wetskills event. We had a home isolation celebration with all our organizers. So we were about 50 organizers from now and also from previous events. They were in one call. 2 weeks later, we had an extensive jubilee celebration with alumni from more than 30 countries. Alumni joined in, about 80 to 100, and we had a nice program and nice discussions, especially the chat behind was used very much. The third part of our Jubilee celebration was on 22nd of September last year. It was during the finals of the Wetskills the Netherlands, which was a hybrid Corona adaptive event. And at that celebration, we focused on the partners and the added value that Wetskills brought for them. And now we are having a fourth celebration, and that is really focusing on the content of the cases and the teams that came up with that and the value of these cases for the intergenerational discussion. That's why we have our inspiring Wetskills practice for climate adaptation. Today, after my introduction, we will see two pitches from different events from the past. Then Liz van Duin from the Ministry of Environment and Water Management of the Netherlands, she will reflect on that. After that, a second round with two other pitches from other events in other years. And then we have our guest Saleemul Huq. He is from Bangladesh. And after that, we have another round with 2 pitches from different countries, from different events, from different years. And then Monika Weber-Fahr from the Worldbank, she will reflect on that. After that, we have some contributions from the team representatives, and we will have a wrap-up. I would like to tell a bit how we selected that, because that was not an easy task. I got the support of 3 of my team members, from Ronja Sørensen, she's from Denmark, and from Floris Bogaert, he is from the Netherlands, as well as Peter Jansen. And we selected the 6 cases using the link to climate adaptation. That was important, but also using the criteria of diversity in topic and the ideas, the level and the size. Also the geographical situation, where is it located, the year of the event, and we also take into consideration the potential follow-up, as we call that What's Next. Well, let's go to the pitches and the inspiring examples, starting with Bangladesh. Sarun, welcome to this presentation.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for me to participate in Wetskills event, and parallelly I was working with the Core Bangladesh project, and the flood-proofing sanitation system was implemented by them. So I think it was a great experience.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nice that you can join us today. Let's have a look at your pitch.
Flood, a recurrent event of Bangladesh, has become so erratic in nature. It is changing its intensity and duration day by day and making life of rural people so miserable. Climate adaptation strategies are supposed to be enhanced to mitigate the negative impact of flood.
So considering this scenario, please imagine you're a young woman and your home is flooded. And suddenly you need to use the washroom, but it is also under the water. So what did you do? So no worries. Today we have come up with a solution which is about gender-friendly flood-proofing sanitation system, and which has been implemented by Core Bangladesh project in a Sirajganj district of Bangladesh. But as it is a new adaptation technique, it is facing some problems.
After keeping all this scenario in mind, we have come up with a solution focusing on 3 major points: gender friendliness, acceptance, and resilience. What we have proposed are we can use a portable bridge instead of using this regular bamboo bridge, which will make the project more gender friendly and well accepted. Charcoal can be used instead of using this coconut fiber, which will reduce the cost to some extent. Different type of leaves and vegetables such as banana leaves and lemon leaves can also be used for filtration purpose.
So in last, we are saying that this community-based climate adaptation technique will make the community people more resilient, as it will help them to live with the flood, where the damages will be reduced in a certain manner.
Okay, thank you, team from Bangladesh. I would like to go further with our next pitch. Welcome.
Hi, Jan, and hi, everyone. Okay, so what I remember from my Wetskills experience is basically connecting with everyone. So having the challenge bring together water professionals from different parts of the world and getting to see and actually experience how they think when it comes to water scarcity, sustainability. It was an eye-opener. So I loved that we went around Cape Town and just looked at the status quo in my country, because if you do remember, it was during the time of the water scarcity in Cape Town. So it was really good to have people come and see what's actually happening in my country, and then have the event bring these people so that they can see for themselves the status quo.
Great,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Shall
you.
we have a look at the pitch? And
Yeah,
also
sure.
this one, this idea has a follow-up, and Pomelo Kontu will also explain that after your pitch.
Okay.
If the province of Gauteng were a country, its GDP would have been ranked the 7th largest in Africa. And if the Lesotho Highlands Water Project were to temporarily stop, Gauteng's economy would collapse in just 2 weeks. Which begs the question, how can downstream users influence and ensure a continuous yet sustainable supply of water from Lesotho whilst protecting the very resource ecosystem from which it comes from? Given the open property of the nature concerned, it suffers from uncontrolled livestock raising. As a result, soil is exposed and erosion takes place. This has not only led to the formation of gullies, but the unexpected decrease in dams capacity due to the rate at which they're silting out. Our Wetlands Awareness Program aims to tackle 2 elements of the status quo, which are, in the short term, land degradation, and in the long term, downstream user participation. The short-term solution, which is the implementation of erosion blankets, entails the direct engagement of farmers because 1, they're well acquainted with the site, and 2, they have witnessed firsthand how their wetlands and grasslands degraded over the years. This will give them a sense of responsibility with a pinch of pride, knowing that they'll be putting back what their livestock takes out. The long-term solution focuses on collaborating with South Africa to set up a research and education program where the youth are exposed to wetlands, its dynamics and importance. In essence, awarding them scholarships to study further at tertiary institutions. Restarting a behavioral shift from wetland ignorance to wetland vigilance.
After a wonderful presentation by the team, we as Lesotho participants came together with South Africa to form a transboundary water management group that would take the proposed solutions forward. Afterwards, for piloting purposes, we as Lesotho procured the ready-made erosion blankets from a company in South Africa and installed them in some of our wetlands and gullies. This was an area of up to 5,000 square meters. And I am happy to say it has been a success, as we are now beginning to see some vegetation grow back in some of those areas where we had the erosion blankets installed. And with this data we collected, we are now looking into upscaling into other areas of the country through our program that is currently ongoing, the Integrated Catchment Management Project.
Well, thank you, team. I would like to give the floor to Liz van Duin. Liz is Director Water Quality, Soil and Marine at the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management of the Netherlands. Liz, welcome. Could you please introduce shortly yourself and share your ideas and reflection about what you saw?
Of course, thank you, Johan. Thank you all. Good morning. My name is Liz van Duin. I work in the Netherlands at the Ministry. I worked my entire professional career in water management. I started at the University of Wageningen. I got my PhD there. I worked as an associate professor. Then I worked for 25 years in operational water management, and that helps me a lot in my last job, my current job, which is policy making for water management. So I tried to combine both knowledge, scientific-based solutions and operational solutions in our policy making. What I think is very important for good water management policy development is that we work together to join forces with all stakeholders, with all governments. We have to make always integrated solutions. Be sure that you take everything into account. For example, in the Netherlands, we have a long-standing tradition of water management, similar to Bangladesh. But we also made mistakes in the past. We built very large dikes. That helped against flooding, but it was very bad for biodiversity. And now we have to make new solutions in which we combine the diminishing of flooding with biodiversity development. So this is all kind of things we learn, and we also want to help in the international work to be sure that other people, other countries, other people make not the same mistakes we made. And I also think it's very important to work always science-based, because water management is a difficult profession, and I think it's very important if you don't want to make mistakes that you use science and work closely together with universities. I think it's important that young people are brought into the field, because I'm sure they are more innovative and more creative than people like me who maybe have a lot of experience, but experience and innovation not always go together very well. So I'm glad to be in this, to participate here. And I enjoyed listening to the pitches. I think they're both very interesting. You can see that in the pitch from Bangladesh, how important river basin management is. It's important for people to be sure that upstream and downstream work together to prevent pollution. So people downstream have good access to fresh water as well. I like the idea from Bangladesh. I think it's very practical and very useful. You can see that to be sure that pollution is prevented, you have to work together, and there is a common responsibility. And I think it was very well approached in this pitch. Thank you. Also, I like the pitch from South Africa. I learned a new word, wetland ignorance. I've never heard that before, but I really enjoy this word. I'm really going to use it again. I think this is good. Also the way erosion blankets were used. I think it's also a very innovative and very creative idea. Also I was impressed with the way you were all already thinking about upscaling this solution. So I think for both pitches, my respect, and I think an applause is deserved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz, for your contribution. Welcome, dear winning team of the Special Olympic edition of Wetskills in South Korea 2018. I still remember your frustrations. What was the key success of creating your idea at the end?
Oh, that's really hard to say. We struggled for a while before we came up with our idea. I think it helped us to, talk with other groups about their ideas, and we walked and walked around the city of Seoul. I think keeping our hopes up and brainstorming with the other groups, but we struggled.
Okay, well, let's have a look at your pitch.
It was freezing cold in Korea for the last few days. We literally survived in this weather thanks to the heating system. But it is all-consuming energy. And as you know, there will be a shortage of energy in the future that every cities are going to face. So, let's try to think of some common solutions for the cities. Well, using water heat of the mountain as an energy source will be not suitable for some flat cities. Or using green energy of the plants will be not suitable for some crowded cities. However, there is one big common asset that every cities have: many people, which leads to many networks and many water pipes. Then, how can we solve this energy challenge with the common assets we have? The key is decentralizing. Decentralizing energy network will not only increase efficiency, but also let people to have more supply for their energy supply. After all, the renewable energies are not a constant source. So first, we'll produce energy locally. We'll place turbines inside the water pipes that can create energies with the water flow. And second, will store energies in a decentralized way. We'll install batteries to every houses and buildings so that they can share or save energies when they want. And last, we'll make an energy network connecting all the houses and buildings. This way, people can have more insight over their energy use. Our energy network, using water pipes as our assets, will make us a step forward to the 100% renewable energy city. So now everyone, welcome to the Water Wide Web.
Thank you, Wonyoung and Anik. I would like to welcome Jasper. Jasper, what do you remember from your trip to India?
Yes, indeed, Johan. It was a very interesting trip, of course, to India. I learned a lot, and I still tell also the students about my experiences abroad, also about India, that I had such a great experience with the hospitable Indian people, the food, the way they behave, the culture, all the motorbikes on the road, the noise on the streets. It was such a special experience.
Thank you, Jasper. Let's watch the pitch of your team.
The city of Ahmedabad is used to heavy water stress in the region due to specific reasons as climate conditions in Gujarat. It's a bit more dry region, but also there's a very long dry period and a very short monsoon during the year. And climate change is affecting the water availability, and also freshwater usage is increasing due to the agricultural, domestic and manufacturing usage. At the moment, the groundwater is overused, and after digging hundreds of meters deep, this research will end at some point, and maybe sooner than later. It's not only the government that needs to take action here, also the citizens and organizations need to take action. Silver Oak College is one of them who wants to be a frontrunner in the field of rainwater harvesting to reduce the water usage. And we advised the Silver Oak College to create an exposure site for different techniques of water harvesting, the collection and filtration of water, and the idea is to spread this over Ahmedabad. Students will play an important role to create the awareness, to manage tours over the campus, and also to manage the facilities. Three main ideas we have are a water square to store the water, together with sand filters and shade balls. They are like small balls preventing the sun to heat up the water. The second was green roofs with sand filters, and the third was living walls for horizontal gardening. By implementing these solutions, water will be collected, cleaned and recharging the groundwater level. The integrated design will create nice meeting places to work, to recreate, or to have a better microclimate in general, and making the campus more resilient. After the presentation of the plan at Vibrant Gujarat in 2017, another team of Dutch and Indian students created a business plan for the rainwater harvesting design. And the original ideas were improved and a follow-up action plan is made. Since then, the living walls have been installed on the Silver Oak campus.
Great, thank you, team from India. I would like to give the floor to Professor Saleemul Huq. Welcome, Professor Saleemul Huq. Great that you can join this program. I am allowed to say Saleemul. Thank you for that. Saleemul is Director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development in Dhaka, Bangladesh. He's involved in many climate adaptation studies, so let's watch what he has to tell. Could you please shortly introduce yourself and then give a reflection on the ideas that you saw?
Thank you very much, Johan, and thank you for inviting me. So as you just mentioned, my name is Saleemul Huq. I'm the Director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development at the Independent University Bangladesh, here in Dhaka, Bangladesh, where I'm speaking from. And we run a master's program in climate change and development, and we also do a significant number of research projects, mainly on adaptation to climate change, many of them involving water, as Bangladesh is a very is a delta country where water is an extremely important issue, very much like the Netherlands. I was very impressed by the two presentations, very interesting. I would like to just share a couple of reflections in terms of not the content of their presentations or their proposals, modality across borders, like you have done between the Netherlands and Korea in one case, and I regularly have invited visiting researchers from Europe, including from the Netherlands, over the years, mainly master's students who come and spend some time with us here. And over the years, we've had quite a lot of them coming, and we would be very interested in hosting others if they wanted to come. We find this an extremely useful form of collaboration between students from developed countries and developing country like Bangladesh, working together to address problems here. Now that we have gone into this COVID-19 pandemic related virtual world, this travel has stopped, but we are still virtually continuing to build these relationships and work with colleagues across the world. And in fact, let me just share one opportunities that I'd like to invite everybody to take advantage of if you're interested, which is coming up next week. We do an annual conference. It's called the Gobeshona Conference. Gobeshona is a Bangla word for research. And over the last 6-7 years, we have been holding it as a in-person presence conference hosted at my university in Dhaka. We used to get quite a lot of international participants there as well, but they had to fly to Bangladesh to participate. Now we are going to be doing it from the 18th to the 24th of January as a virtual event. And by virtue of it being a virtual event, we are making it a global event. And the global theme is on locally led adaptation. People themselves taking actions all over the world in their own settings. And we have sessions from all over the world, starting from the Pacific and Australia, through Asia, through Europe. We have sessions organized in the Netherlands, and then in the Americas, North America, South America, Central America. And we will be running sessions over 24 hours, over 7 days, virtual sessions. And so this going into a virtual modality obviously has its disadvantages, but it also has some advantages which we want to build on, which is we can connect with each other and talk to each other across borders as we're doing right now in a way that it was not possible before. We had to fly to the Netherlands to talk to and attend these kinds of meetings, or fly to another place to do them. I think in future, we may not need to do this as much. Obviously, we still would want to meet in person, but we can, I think, do a lot more virtually than we thought before. And now the technology allows us to do that. And young people, particularly young university students, I think are a very, very good asset, because they know this technology inside out. They're very good at it. Let me end there by thanking you for inviting me, Johan, and to congratulate the presenters on some excellent presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saleemul, for your contribution. I would like to go further with well, the fifth pitch, which is from Israel. Welcome, Noah and Irinke. It's so nice to see you both. Noah, may I ask you, what did you get out from Wetskills, and also what are you still using in your current career?
Sure, thanks, John. So first, maybe I'll say that back then, 2013, I was still a master's student, and Wetskills was my first experience with dealing with a real world out of academy problem and tried to tackle it. And moreover, with international team, which was making it even more exciting, of course. And for sure, the connections, and to hear about how things are being dealt in the Netherlands on those aspects. As a student back then for environmental engineering was very exciting for me. And yeah, we still have the hope. I think I'm speaking on the behalf of the entire team that some of the ideas that we had for Water Authority will still be implemented, and we were kind of trying to promote it in the next years later on.
Yes, well, Your idea was also one of the winning cases that we are now presenting. Erinke, you did the pitch, a very short. Do you still remember that feeling?
Well, I was actually discussing it with Noah before, that some parts of the pitch, there are so much printed in my brain that I can still kind of, well, okay, I won't repeat it now out loud, but it's still very present in my mind. Yes.
Great, good to see you back as well. Let's have a look at your pitch.
Israel is a worldwide leader in using reclaimed wastewater for agricultural purposes. But even here, there are communities who do not join this water revolution, which is a shame. In the Sram region, there is such an Arab community who do not trust, do not believe in reclaimed wastewater. They're using fresh water instead, which is really expensive. In the Sram region, there's a Sram Water Corporation which already have reclaimed wastewater available. So, how to encourage them to use reclaimed wastewater for agricultural purposes, which is more profitable? We have found a way how to show the Arab community that this reclaimed wastewater is a blessing and not a curse. 3 solutions will be implemented. First, an independent committee of important stakeholders will be formed and will be the leading party of this implementation. Then we need to catch our goldfish. Our goldfish is a group of small group of trusted locals who will be able to convince the farmers to use reclaimed wastewater. They are the key connection to the Arab community. Second, we will add the constructed wetlands to the system. The constructed wetlands is instead of the needed aquifilter. This shifts the reclaimed wastewater into reclaimed water. So this also shifts the Arab's perception from sewage water into natural water from the wetlands. Last, we build a pilot farm and an agro-center. The pilot farm will show a profit, the agro-center will be an educational place and an iCard share. Even a pond is constructed with goldfish in it, literally showing the quality and safety of the water because it's connected with wetlands. So, this all together encourages the Arab community to use the reclaimed wastewater, to join the water revolution, reclaim to agriculture, reclaimed water, because this is a high quality, profitable and safe.
Thank you, team. I would like to go to the last pitch presenter, which is Luc. Luc participated in Wetskills Romania 2017. Luc, can you elaborate a bit what you experienced in Bucharest?
Yes, it was my first time for an international project, actually. So we went to the big palace in Bucharest, and we could hold our presentation there inside the palace, which was a very, very unique experience for me. And I really enjoyed it, talking to all the experts, and also for my network now, it was very useful, this experience.
Okay, let's have a look at your pitch.
Walking through the city on a hot summer day. How do you feel? You might have noticed that the inner city is a lot warmer than green parks. Heat stress is becoming a serious climate issue in many big cities around the world, such as Bucharest or Amsterdam. People suffer from these urban climate issues, and it's costing society millions of euros in loss of productivity, infrastructural damages and healthcare. At the moment, information is scattered, and it's taking policymakers a lot of time to effectively locate problem areas and to find suitable solutions. Our objective therefore is to create a crowdsourcing platform that not only links climate issues, but also brings together policymakers, citizens and researchers. Inspired by the popular Pokemon Go game, we've designed an integrated and innovative app called Climate Go. This app is based on 3 principles: participation, integration and adaptation. Participation is done by motivating citizens to use the smartphone app as a serious game. They can go around the city and identify locations where they experience nuisance from heat stress or flooding. There they make pictures of the situation while using their GPS location and gathering data for the app. Secondly, the integration part is when professionals use this crowdsourced data to identify the specific urban climate issues, to develop an integrated map that locates hotspot areas. And thirdly, adaptation means that with this data from ClimateGo, city planners and policymakers can effectively act on climate issues by implementing sustainable solutions for hotspot areas and eventually creating a more resilient city. So, the ClimateGo app has the potential to save millions of euros, strengthen community participation, mobilize policymakers, and increasing the quality of life in the city. So, let's start together with acting for climate adapting.
As last expert, I would like to welcome Monika Weber-Fahr from the Worldbank. She is Senior Advisor, Partnerships and Results of the Water Global Solutions Group. It's great to hearing from you how you see that intergenerational discussion in these concrete examples. Monika, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you very much. And let me start by congratulating Wetskills for your 10th anniversary last year, I believe, and also for really trying to explore the relationship and mutual support between what happens in terms of innovation in the water space and the theme of climate adaptation and resilience. Building resilience is what I have seen come through in many of the suggestions here, something that I spend a lot of time with right now. Similar to Liz, I'm not an innovator myself, but somebody who has worked a lot with innovators over the last years. And I wanted to compliment everyone whom I've been hearing here for really engaging in not only ideas generation, but also in trying to pursue how these can be implemented very actively. I myself am an economist, have been with the Worldbank for some 20 years, took breaks to work with global partnerships, one on the energy side and one which many of you may know, the Global Water Partnership, that has many groups in many of the countries that you are working with. I was particularly delighted when I was invited to be here with you today, because innovation is something that's very close to my heart. And has been, as I've worked with many groups inside the Worldbank over the last years, and how to both bring innovation inside such a large organization, but also share some of that outside. I kind of disagree a little bit with Saleem and Liz about, yes, innovation has to come from the young side. In fact, while we often think about the water sector of not being terribly innovative, and that may be true in the big structures that in many ways administer the water system. On the technology side, there's a lot of innovation coming from all age groups, specifically the engineers that are a really big part of the water community. They will tinker with their solutions until they're 85 or 90. And there's a lot to learn from that. And so I'm really grateful that the theme here is not young innovators, but it's intergenerational dialogue and how can we work together on innovation. I was delighted with the two pitches that I get to comment on in this very regard. Both, and I found that very interesting, the look in terms of innovation, not so much on the technology side, but on mobilizing users, mobilizing stakeholders. And in the end, this is a theme that has been a strong theme in water and sanitation for many years on the user end. But it's also a theme that is becoming much, much stronger in the climate resilience space overall. How can we change our own behaviors, both as consumers, but also as contributors to the systems in which we operate? The teams might want to look a little bit into, if they are interested in continuing to pursue this, some of the behavior change perspective. I've seen much of behavior change often relies on three dimensions: motivation, capacity, and opportunity. And I thought it was really interesting on the Bucharest example, you do look at motivation and opportunity, perhaps not so much on capacity. The Westbank Gaza example had all three. And I specifically liked how they've been combining the technology side of things with the piece of really trying to get people motivated, working with the women who were out there needing this, trying to build capacity and creating the opportunity. In both cases, trust and engagement are very, very important elements. And this goldfish idea, while I'm not so sure I'd be curious whether that would actually work. It's very interesting. It resonates with what's been done in the mining area with canaries. When people don't trust anymore, right, have something that everybody else can trust that it will work. And but let's make sure we keep that intergenerational dialogue going, so that one can actually learn from each other and move ahead together. This is the work we have ahead of us, is a work for all of us. Nobody should leave the younger generation to fix this. This is something that the older generation has caused. So, take us to task.
Monika, thank you very much for your valuable contribution. Wetskills is about integrating young talents in the sector, that intergenerational conversations to help mobilize innovations and drive faster and better implementation. Maybe Irinke, can I give you the floor? Did you also see that intergenerational dialogue happening during your Wetskills, or maybe in other occasions? What is your experience on that?
Well, I think it's a good point that Monika is making here, because I totally agree that it's an intergenerational problem that should be solved, because both all generations have to deal with it. And I think if I look back on Israel, I think what was also an issue there is that the Arab community living there it has some clashing cultures inside. So and this was really an intergenerational thing, that we as young students could look at it with a fresh perspective, and kind of come up with an idea to really integrate also this community in the society. And I think that's one of the biggest achievements we made in this time in Israel. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, Rosa, maybe you can also reflect on that intergenerational dialogue.
If I could put my experience in Wetskills and what I've learned is that we, as young people, we come together, we form ideas, we put forward all these amazing ideas that can come into fruition. But I do believe that when we include other age gaps, when we are not just being exclusive, I know it sounds really grand when we talk about a certain age gap, but I believe that adding an inclusivity in terms of age gap would bring a variety, or I would say an array, a spectrum of ideas. So that's one thing I'd say we're lacking. We would target one age gap without considering another, when in reality, when we include all, when we have an inclusivity, that's where the array of ideas come to fruition. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, thank you, Rosa. And maybe I would also like to ask Zaroon, as Wetskills Foundation, can we do more in Bangladesh, for example, or in other places, to foster that intergenerational dialogue?
Yes, of course. As in our country, we are facing some extreme climate problems, and I'm also working in some project that is related to climate adaptation techniques. So we can arrange more programs, or we can be engaged in such programs, and we can engage our young people to come up in front, so that we can share our ideas and do so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Irinke, Foundation, what can we do more to stimulate that international dialogue and to really implement ideas that we came up together?
Well, I think like what we did in Israel, it was combined with this trade mission of the Dutch government to Israel, and we presented our pitch at this kind of conference at the embassy, and there are many people and companies over there that kind of are there to invest in the country. They're interested in new technologies, and I think they that it really helps to present these pitches to them. So I think it helps to spread the good word, I think. And what I really like of Wetskills is that we work together with real companies and authorities who have a case and a question to be solved. So actually, I think already the concept of Wetskills is really helping in making this implementation integration happen.
Okay, so you mean let's do more of these events? Well, Monika, maybe can I ask you to have a last reflection of today? You heard some of our alumni telling about their experiences. Maybe you can have a last note on this.
Yeah, I think I wanted to perhaps just reflect on 3 quick things. One is it might be interesting for Wetskills to think about what actually happens to all the ideas that people are putting out. You now have 10 years under your belt. I'm sure you're interested and have started to look at that. But is there a way, not all ideas and not all concepts make sense, and sometimes just one part of it makes sense, and sometimes really it is, or probably mostly, it's about the learning of working on innovation. That is the long-term impact, if you will. But where does all the innovation go? You know, either the idea or what's in the brain piece, right? Now, on the intergenerational dialogue with the Global Water Partnership, we've done an interesting thing when I had the opportunity to be the executive secretary there, which is we created a fixed seat in the governance structure for youth representatives. And rather than going to any of those established youth organizations, we actually had an open call. And that made quite a difference. And I mean, the dynamics are only playing out now, but I found it made quite a difference both by creating space for that dialogue, but also by really pointing to some people. And but it is an important statement. And mind you, the Wetskills Foundation and on its board has people that at least visually look like over 40. So maybe there is a space for doing that. And my last word would be to those who have presented here and shared their perspective, just seeing how you all seem to have moved on after you presented. You know, was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and how seemingly this experience has given you definitely a boost in your motivation and energy. Keep the faith, keep the spirit.
Okay, thank you very much, Monika. Well, first of all, I would like to thank our guests of today. Thank you, Saleemul, thank you, Monika and Liz, for your contribution. I would like to thank the teams because it was very nice to meeting you again, somewhere already 6-7 years ago to talk to, and it's still nice to hear that you're so enthusiastic. And for the viewers at home, thank you for watching. For more information, you can visit our website, of course. Wetskills would like to continue and strengthen our intergenerational activities together with our alumni, together with our partners in our networks, but also with new participants and partners to create impact for a climate resilient world.